What's going on, guys? This is Evan the Dark Souls enthusiast here, bringing another Dark Souls gameplay commentary. This gameplay commentary, we're back for revenge on the Tomb of the Giants here, and also the defeat of Gravelord Nito. The usual stuff. This is, of course, another installment of the Elly series of videos, which is finally coming to its conclusion, at least for the single-player playthrough part. Still have a little bit of time left. Well, not a little bit. Still have, hopefully, a lot of PvP coming. Winded up with probably what most would consider to be an imperfect character build, but I really like it, so looking forward to put up more PvP videos, lots more coming, but, this series wouldn't be complete unless I finished the walkthrough all the way to the defeat of Gwyn. It's not even a walkthrough, but unless I finish the commentary series all the way to the defeat of Gwyn, and that's what we're going to do. This is, of course, another long gameplay commentary, because Tomb of the Giants is one of those areas that, like I told in the last video, visibility is low. I did not have a sunlight maggot helm, so I was forced to use the lantern approach and slowly push my way through the area. I actually did this area pretty early. I prefer to save Tomb of the Giants for after Lost Izalith. And also, this is usually like the last area I do, either this or the Duke's Archives, so did things pretty out of order for Elly on my regular character build. From my other character builds, rather, excuse me. I know I've been trying to upload videos more consistently. I know I missed a day yesterday, and I apologize for that, but, I guess I make no guarantees to have content out on a daily basis. It's just what I try to do. At least I'm trying to do more recently. Unfortunately, class gets in the way. Wednesdays and Thursdays just aren't good for me to do any commentaries or do any uploads because I'm in graduate school, and that really has to come first. And on Fridays I work, so it's like, I'm on like a reverse schedule from the rest of the world. If everybody else is like, I'm like Monday. My busy days are Monday. Can't even talk. My busy days are Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I just have a really light load like the rest of the week. Whereas most people, they're wrapping up for the weekend at about Friday, so it's not a big deal. It's just different. Not what other people prefer, I guess. In any case, you'll notice I actually got invaded in this video. I thought that was pretty neat. I, of course, came into human form so that I could fight Paladin Leroy, and at about that time I got invaded by this dude, and I had to fight through the Black Knight, so right now I'm just kind of waiting for the invader to come and find me. I'm not particularly looking to proceed into the level into more of those enormous skeleton jumping guys and things like that. And I know he's going to come to me. There he is. This fight doesn't work out as well as I had hoped, and you'll see why. Of course, he's got a Black King Great Axe, I believe. He's got a huge weapon, but thankfully it's all physical damage, so I can just shield block that for days and maybe try to parry something or, take advantage of him. I'm definitely not going to be able to take him on a head-on-head fight with an S-Stock, just like in my PvP series, not even series, but my PvP videos I mentioned. It can be difficult to take on large cumbersome weapons with an S-Stock because even if you have the poise to take a hit from him, you can't really hit him back very effectively, not unless you build your character. Well, not really with an S-Stock at all. You'd have to change to a higher damage weapon with more, not even higher damage weapon, but a weapon that has more knockback in it, like a scythe or something like that, or whatever you have the strength to wield, but I guess that's another thing altogether. This guy's standing by Patches intentionally, I think. He seems to think I'm unwilling to kill Patches to sort of keep him alive, and I'm just like, nah, that's not a good plan because Patches tricked me into falling into a hole and was just generally a problem for me, so rather, I'm just going to wrap you and Patches off the cliff, and that's what you get for standing there. No hard feelings, an invasion's an invasion. It's cool. I had a good time. Just saying that, that whole strategy about let's play it safe and stay near Patches, that doesn't really work on me. I know he'll be back in New Game Plus. I unfortunately did not learn the gesture before I put him down, and that's pretty unfortunate. I try to get all the gestures on all my characters, as I've said in previous videos, but what can you do? But now that the invasion's over and the Black Knight's out of the way, we can continue grinding through the... Of course, in a gameplay commentary this long, I can't really... I'd rather not talk about the walkthrough through the area, excuse me, for a full 30 minutes. It'd just get really dull. And in another video, I had said I was going to revisit the topic of, Dark Souls shield choice for different characters a lot more in depth, and I never really did, and I didn't want to make a video just for that, at least not with some other content with it, so I I decided I'd go ahead and really sort of hammer out for my viewers how I feel about the shields, how I evaluate them, what I want to, how I evaluate what kind of shield to pick for my character, the shields that are strong choices for whatever reasons, at least in my opinion. Just a complete overview of shields. There's as complete as I can be without listing out all the stats and stuff. But without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. I can say that this was not the best place for a Divine S-Stock. Once again, would have preferred a big weapon here. And you might hear some rattle in the background while I do this part of the commentary. I actually wrote out some of my notes on the shields here on paper just to make sure I didn't miss any, But I'll jump right into that here while I proceed through the Tomb of the Giants against the enormous skeletons and everything else that's just kind of annoying about this area. Like the fact I can't block, even though I'm used to blocking because I have an S-Stock and I can block with my shield. I can attack with my shield up, but I can't right now because I have to hold a freaking lantern. Sorry, I was just raging and ranting about my lack of sunlight maggot helm for this this ordeal here. Oh, also, before I even jump into the shield, I should mention, in these videos you will not see me get the covetous gold serpent ring, or silver serpent ring, I'm not sure which it is, but there's a ring in the Tomb of the Giants that increases experience gain by 20%, and it's a really nice ring to have, and I didn't forget to get it, it got lost in the editing of clips somewhere, and I can't find the clip where I jump off the ledge to pick it up, but thankfully there's a ton of tutorials on YouTube about how to get it. I think everybody's probably uploaded if anybody had any desire to do Dark Souls, except me, of course, because I'm just going to trust everybody else, but if you can't find it on your own, it's that item over there, and you drop off the ledge near where you fought Patches, or at least where I fought Patches, because he got friendly fired in my wrath. I'm not real sure what I'm doing here. I think I'm considering returning to the bonfire. Yeah, I probably should have edited this part of it out, but we've come this far now, so I'm just going to let it stand. I've re-recorded this a couple times already, and there's been some rendering failures and everything else, and whenever those kind of accidents occur, maybe right now actually I was getting the serpent ring. I know I don't, so I'm guessing that maybe I came back up here to hit the bonfire, maybe get the ring, and then I just opted out of that plan, because sometimes I tend to die when I make the drop for it. That back where I was looking down is about the ledge you have to drop from, and sometimes I drop down and get myself killed, and that's just, that's bad news bears, guys. I'm not in human form. I need to stay that way at least until I get rid of Leroy, and after that, I guess my humanity is kind of expendable, which was why I thought I would come back for it, but I don't think I ever did in the videos, or if I did, it's been lost in the editing. But I'm going to go ahead and move on. I think I've made my point that you will not see how to get that ring in this video, which is an error on my part. I apologize. In any case, shield choice. There's a lot of different shields to choose from, and they're really going to have to be catered to the amount of points you put into strength and the amount of weight that you can carry on your character. I'm not really going to provide the exact numbers for that so much as talk about the conceptual purpose of each shield and how they fit into the average character build. If you want a very tuned and specific character build, you'll probably have to go on the wikis and do some research yourself, or just outright copy somebody's build off one of the pages. I don't know, there's a lot of ways to reach that quote-unquote perfect build, but I like to experiment, with my own characters and find out what works for me. That's why I'm rocking 41 endurance, because that's what worked for me and I had the point for it. So anyway, you'll find the effigy shield there, which I will not mention because I've never really found a need or a use for it. But with that said, let's jump into these shields that you will find some use for. I've divided these shields into categories, which are the small shields, medium shields, and special shields. So let's do small shields. Oh, and I'm sorry, and there's one more category, which is small shields, medium shields, heavy shields, and special shields. Special shields are the shields that basically serve a utility function rather than a blocking or parrying function. And those aren't classified by their type, they're just classified by, their use and their effect you'll probably be looking for when you equip it. But in any case, let's jump right into small shields. In my opinion, the small shields all suck. There are some with 100% block that weigh practically nothing, but considering that some of the there's much better shields in the medium shield category that weigh barely any, if at all, anymore. So with that said, just avoid the small shields. If you're just looking for an ultralight tool to parry with, use a parrying dagger. It's vastly superior to a parrying shield. or a small shield, which you pretty much would only use for the fast parry speed. I know I mentioned this in another video, but I'll go ahead and elaborate. When you talk about parrying, there's a couple different types of parrying, which is basically fast and normal. And very few shields have fast. In a parrying dagger, they have fast parries, and everything else has regular parry speed. You can make do with either, it's all about timing, but given the lag in PvP and the server issues and odds ends and the weird parrying windows of certain weapons, I'm much more comfortable trying to parry with like the correct shield or a parrying dagger over a normal parry speed. So that's just something to keep in mind. By all means, many players, including myself, have made average parry speeds work for PvP, but there's what works and then there's, I guess, what's easy on you. With that said, I'm considering the parrying dagger basically a small shield because the only advantage of small shields was the quick parry time. And the parrying dagger weighs 0.5 pounds and does a little extra damage when you parry, and plus it makes you look really sweet. So obviously rock the parrying dagger if that's what you're in the market for. Next we'll jump into medium shields, which is best described as every shield ever. There's a ton of good medium shields, and they're sort of the defining type of shield in Dark Souls for PvP and for PvE, because the next class up, which will be Great Shields, doesn't have the option to parry, but we'll get to that later. All medium shields can parry, and that's great. So we'll jump into my description of each. These are in no particular order. We'll start with the Crest Shield. It's a medium shield that you obtain in the Undead Asylum on your second visit by slaying the Hollow Knight that was approaching you from the start of the game. The Crest Shield is relatively unremarkable. Its stability is rather weak. It doesn't weigh too much. It's easy to carry around on pretty much any character, and the highlight of the Crest Shield, of course, is that it has 85% resistance to magic, which is the highest magic resistance in the game. So if you feel like you need to carry a shield to beat up on mages, it's your best choice. It's also good against magic damage like divine weapons and stuff like that, which normally doesn't do enough damage to really justify using it. I don't think we'll see, I don't particularly ever see myself making a whole lot of characters that rock it. They might keep it in their inventory, for, like I said, for those specialty occasions where you need to beat up on a mage, but for the most part, there's really no need to carry a shield that's specific and has that low stability when there's such better options available. Next up is the Boulder Shield. That's what Elly is rocking. The Boulder Shield's terrific. It used to be a pretty mediocre shield that only purpose was like, of course the patch changed a lot of, rebalanced a lot of things in regards to the shields, and one thing about the Boulder Shield that was nice in the old patch was if you picked it up, its starting level had really nice stability, but unfortunately it didn't scale well with being leveled up, so it ultimately became useless. But thankfully in the new patch that's far from the truth. The Boulder Shield only requires 12 strength to wield, so 90% of all characters will rock at least 12 strength, if not more strength, so they'll have the opportunity to carry it if they want to, which I think if you're not going to break the 14 strength threshold, which is kind of the next breakpoint for good shields, then the Boulder Shield is the best 12 to 13 strength shield in the game. It's got the second highest stability in the game. It's got pretty lackluster elemental resistances, and it doesn't weigh too much, and of course it can parry, so really solid choice, and I think it has great art. I like all the Boulder Knight equipment. Hard to justify using it when most of the equipment kind of sucks, except for the shield, which is really a finely crafted piece of work, which in addition, it actually matches, in addition, it finally matches the game's description, which was that it had been quote-unquote tuned for greater stability, in which case it actually didn't, but now with the new patch, it really is tuned for stability, so it's a very strong choice. The next is the White Knight Shield, which is sort of replaced the Hollow Soldier Shield as the bread and butter medium shield, and overall the most common shield in the game right now. It comes in at 14 strength requirements, pretty acceptable weight, not too heavy, and it has the highest stability of any medium shield with fully upgraded. It is easily obtainable by killing the respawning knights, the respawning white knights in Anor Londo, which, as long as you don't make it dark, are there in mass, and there's plenty to kill for equipment. course, you'll see me killing Paladin Leroy here in the actual video. Killing Paladin Leroy gives you access to Grant and Sanctus. Sanctus is shield and Grant's a weapon. That enormous hammer and his shield is Sanctus. In addition, killing him will grant you Paladin armor, which is ultimately the armor class that Elly ended up wearing, so this is a pretty big battle for me. Just note, you will not receive the armor upon killing the Paladin. You'll have to obtain it in the chamber of the Gravelord Nito boss fight. It's not easy to see, but it's not that hidden either. I think I might even pick it up in the video, so there'll be no question on where to get it. We'll talk about that shield here a little later in my commentary in the foreseeable future. But yes, the White Knight shield, the cookie cutter shield for most builds now. Really competitive weight, highest stability, low strength investment. All in all, everything you'd want in a shield. I highly recommend it. The elemental resistances aren't bad either. Weighing in next at 16 pounds is the Black Knight shield. The Black Knight shield has a commendable amount of stability. It's just under the Boulder shield stability, and it's very much on par with it. Of course, it requires 16 strength and weighs a lot more than most of the other medium shields, which kind of begs the question why you would use it. Well, not only does the Black Knight shield look sweet, but frankly, it's a strong choice because for PvP and PvE, because it actually has 95% fire resist. So basically, in synopsis, it just nullifies fire damage, which is incredibly useful in a variety of boss fights and against a lot of just the common chaff enemies you run into while fighting your way through Dark Souls. You know, enemies with torches or fire weapons, Quilina or Quelaag or whatever, the giant sister spider that likes to hit you with fire attacks and stuff like that. Also in Lost Izalith, there's a ton of fire enemies, and in PvP, the fully ascended Pyromancy's Flame is really, it's just everywhere. Oh, and just to do a quick throwback, I didn't mention where to find a Boulder shield. You can get a Boulder shield if you're interested by killing Boulder Knights in Sen's Fortress, or you can find them in the Undead Parish. Probably the sooner you get it, the better if you plan on using it. You can also buy it from the Crestfallen Merchant in Sen's Fortress, but they drop pretty routinely. And of course, a rule of thumb is enemies will only drop the piece of equipment that they're carrying, so to say. So if you want a Boulder shield, you actually have to bring down the enemy that has the Boulder shield as opposed to the Buckler. You know, it'd be pretty easy to tell the difference in that the Buckler is tiny and the Boulder shield is a pretty large shield. You can see me using it right now. The White Knight shield, like I said, can be obtained in Orlando by killing White Knights. The Black Knight shield is, that's a little more of a challenge. To obtain the Black Knight shield, you basically have to hope a Black Knight drops it, and I already sort of elaborated on the strong points. Tremendous fire resistance, respectable stability, at a 16 strength investment, and not too bad on the weight. Actually, approaching the end of this commentary, I need to pick this up. Okay, Iron Round Shield. This is a special case. The Iron Round Shield requires 16 strength, has modest stability, and has modest elemental defense, but it has a special little perk. Shields have a deflection type, which is soft deflection, or medium deflection, hard deflection. All medium shields have a medium deflection, except for the Iron Round Shield, which has heavy deflection. And basically that means when someone hits you, they get bounced off from your shield harder, leaving much more of an opening for you. So if you're one of those guys that really doesn't like to parry, but really doesn't want to invest in the strength or the weight of a great shield, then, or a heavy shield, you know, a great shield, then the Iron Round Shield was put in the game just for you. That's obtained by killing Shiva. Shiva from the Force Covenant down in Blight Town, the same place you get the Darkwood Grain Ring. Next up is the Blood Shield. It's popular, I see a lot of people with it. I don't like it. At 10 strength, it's hardly any investment whatsoever. Every character can probably equip it, and it helps increase your resistances to negative status effects. Otherwise, I find it pretty modest in its stability and its elemental defense. It's more of a status defense shield coupled with decent stability for practically no strength investment, and it doesn't weigh too much. So, certain character builds that really want to skimp on strength or really don't have a lot of extra weight flying around, probably a strong choice then, but I'll probably never use it personally. Next up, we have heavy shields. This is the last class of shields that don't fall in like a special category, and these are, there's a lot of these, but I haven't found most of them to be worth using, in that the added stability is rarely worth the tremendous investment in strength. But I'll go ahead and throw out a couple of the noteworthy ones. And of course, the great shields all have that heavy deflection type I talked about, where enemies bounce off them pretty hard, but it's important to note that at the same time, you do not get the option to parry with the great shield, and that's what really holds them back, is parrying is essential. So the Eagle shield at 16 strength has a ton of stability, significantly more stability than even the White Knight shield, and has great resistances, pretty easy on the weight. So the Eagle shield is the best heavy shield in the game, not close. Couldn't recommend it anymore. I can't give up parrying, but if you don't parry and you have no interest in parrying, it's a really strong choice. Highly recommend it. It's probably the only great shield I do highly recommend. Next up is the Great Shield of Artorias, which requires a ton of strength, like strength in the, I think, 34, between 32 or 34 strength. Oh, and I keep doing this out of order. The Eagle shield is obtained in Blighttown. You can consult my Blighttown walkthrough to see its location. The Great Shield of Artorias, which is of course made from the Soul of Sif, is unremarkable except for the fact it has the highest stability in the game, and it is true that you ignore 90% of all attacks when you carry that shield. If you want a turtle, like hardcore, I love the Great Shield of Artorias. Looks sweet too, and if you want to be a real boss, you'll rock the Great Sword of Artorias as well and play like a soul level 300 character. That way you can actually level the endurance and the strength to use all this stuff without completely gimping your character. I guess the last great shield that really struck me as anything exciting was, of course, Havel's shield, which is actually really common. The whole Havel set is common. Really high weight, but it also has really high stability, so strong choice overall, and that's obtained in Anne Orlando, along with the rest of Havel's set. The rest are the special shields, which the only thing really remarkable about these things is their special effect. The Grass Crest shield, which is located in the Darkroot Garden, really at like the base of the Darkroot Garden, not in the base and not towards the Hydra, but before the Hydra at the bonfire, where the Black Knight guy, the Black Knight halberd is. That's where you will find the Grass Crest shield. You rarely ever block with it. It can parry, but you rarely parry with it. You usually just strap it to your back with a heavy weapon because it significantly increases your stamina regeneration rate. Next up is the Crystal Ring shield, which after patch is basically useless. It's made with the soul of the Moonlight Butterfly with any +10 shield. Medium shield or small shield, I don't think you can do great shield. And you actually throw the shield at the enemy and it does between 150 to 200 magic damage. Little history, that shield actually used to scale in damage based on your right hand weapon. So you could throw that shield for 1,000 damage at times, but that's since been patched out, so now it's pretty much useless, and there's a gimmick item. It's neat, worth making and trying, but typically not something you use at length. Next up of the special shields is the Bone Wheel shield. This drops off the Bone Wheel skeletons that roll around in the Painted World or in the Catacombs. They kill people a lot. That shield's sweet. It's pretty much not useful, but it does let you attack with it and like buzzsaw them. Like if you stick it in their face and it spins and it buzzsaws them. Really cool. Otherwise not very practical. Next up is the Sanctus shield, which dropped off Paladin Leroy in this video. Offers like 2 HP every 2 seconds or some factor like that. It sucks. Don't use Sanctus unless you're just theming it, because it is pretty sweet. Last up's the Spider shield. Really useful in Blighttown. Can be obtained in the depths. And now I'm going to go quiet for the Gravelord Nito fight. Alright guys, thanks for watching. That'll be the end of the commentary on this gameplay video. I hope you enjoy the Nito fight, and I certainly enjoyed giving you my brief synopsis of all the shields in Dark Souls. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Alright, later.